Welcome to Ghosts of Cape Cod, the podcast, in which we bring you dramatized chapters of Bill Russo's book, exploring hauntings and spirits from all the 15 towns of Cape Cod. This tale takes us first to the old ghost road of Mashpee. It is a secluded, abandoned section of Route 28, the third biggest roadway on the 64-mile-long island. When they built Mashpee Commons, one of the largest shopping plazas in the area, a section of Route 28 was closed off and discarded. The traffic was rerouted through a rotary, often called a roundabout, in other parts of the country. Although overgrown and shielded from view, the ghost road is still there. It was never torn up. It was just abandoned. An occasional walker can be seen, or a few joggers. But walking on it is a surreal experience. If you ever come to Cape Cod and wish to find the road, go to the Mashpee Rotary, and if you look carefully, as you motor around the rotary, you might see the overgrown area that once was an entrance to the road where cars can no longer go. If you find a place to park your vehicle and wander into the old ghost road, you might possibly hear a voice, a beautiful voice that sounds like this.
Come to me, come to me.
That's Ah-soo. Although people claim that they can hear the talented Ah-soo, they can never see her. It's not just because Ah-soo has been dead for 300 years. It's just that she will not allow any man or woman to see her face. Your cat or your dog could easily see her. The situation will be explained in short order as we bring in our tale teller, Matthew.
Thank you, Basil. This narrative is a sad tale that comes from far back in Native American history. It is the unlikely love affair between the talented young lady of the Mashpee people called Ah-soo, and a giant creature from the water, the great trout. We'll speak of the fish later. But first, allow me to explain something about the talented Ah-soo. Her people did not call her Ah-soo the Talented. Instead they called her the Talented and Ugly Ah-soo. You see, she had an oddly shaped face that closely resembled the bark of an old and gnarled oak tree. So ugly was the girl, that none of the braves would speak to her. When she was near, they would turn their backs and run off, as if being chased by full-grown grizzly bears. Though skilled in all the crafts a woman of the tribe was supposed to know, there was not a single man, young or old, who would take her to his wigwam. But, despite her unhappiness, Ah-soo sang pretty songs every day at the creek, when fetching water, bathing, or washing clothes. Her voice was so lovely that all the creatures of the forest would gather to hear her impromptu concerts.
Hey yeah, hey yeah, hey yeah. Hold on, come to me.
Sharp-toothed mountain lion sat quietly next to fat quail, as Ah-soo crooned. Plump rats reclined entranced against the sides of hungry snakes, as both species closed their eyes while the dreamy music brought peace and silence to the forest. Even the raging Santuit River, at the end of the creek, slowed down, near the place where the golden-voiced woman warbled her surreal melodies. All the creatures of the Mashpee woods and waters loved the sonorous voice of the ugly girl, but none more than the biggest fish in the Santuit River. He was called the Great Trout, due to his massive size. So large was the Great Trout, that he was far too huge to be able to swim the creek, to get closer to the girl of the enchanting songs. The Great Trout had to be satisfied with listening, from afar. Day after day the giant fish would wallow at the end of the creek, half in and half out of the water, trying to push himself to the woman he loved. As he listened to her magnificent voice, he imagined that Ah-soo was just as beautiful to look at as to listen to.
Come to me. Don't you think it's time for us to be together? For us to be together. Don't lose. Don't lose.
At the end of every day the poor fish would flop over on his side, exhausted from his work of trying to enlarge the creek enough, so that he could finally get close to his love. As he fell into a deep sleep, he dreamed of the day that he would finally reach the girl with a voice so wonderful as to put the entire forest in rapture. At dawn, the sun would start to dry the exposed scales on his side, and the great trout would have to roll over and over in the muddy water to keep himself wet. Sometimes his work was so hard that his gills had to flap like a hummingbird to supply enough air to keep him going. Yet every time he thought he could drag himself no further up the creek, he would hear Ah-soo's splendid singing, and push on with renewed strength. As the end of summer approached, the heroic fish was within 20 feet of the talented Ah-soo. He still could not see her, for his vision was blocked by a ragged old maple tree that had fallen across the creek. The trunk was thick, and had many sharp branches jutting out in all directions. It was a formidable foe, but the brave fish decided to fight it. He charged at the rotting maple, and pushed with all his power. The ancient hardwood gave an inch, or two. Again the great trout rammed his bulk into the wooden hulk, and again it budged an inch or two or perhaps three, but not enough to see. His strength almost gone, the determined trout revved up for another thrust. He backed up until he was more than 20 feet from the knotty old trunk, and raced towards it. He smashed into it, and finally out of the way was the old tree. And the route to Ah-soo was free. As the wizened maple twisted and began to float down the creek towards the river, two of its sturdy branches moved. They moved, just as if they were the muscled arms of a boxer. With the deftness of a surgeon, those wooden arms poked into the eyes of the unfortunate trout, and blinded him. Ah-soo saw the plight of the great trout, and ran to help him. "I need no help, my beautiful Ah-soo," said the brave fish. "That I am here is enough. Even though I am now blinded, I am next to you who I have loved since I heard your first song. Please sing for me now, and it will ease my pain."
I'm gonna be here, right here for you, on your side. Your love's what I need.
Ah-soo sang her love song to the blind fish, and as usual the noises and activities of the forest stopped as all the beasts, birds, and fishes crowded around to listen. There was a new creature among the entranced. Its face resembled that of a human. It was 4 feet tall, and entirely covered in fur. Its face looked kindly, with eyes slightly too big, like those of a cat. The creature had a round belly, and looked to be in the early stages of old age. His eyes had a sad look. As Ah-soo sang to her injured trout, the eyes of the creature filled with tears. What happened next has been told in oral histories for hundreds, perhaps thousands of years. Ah-soo stopped singing, and the weeping creature walked over to her, and spoke into her ear. Quietly, so that none could hear, not even the great trout, he whispered to the girl with the golden throat and the face of a goat. That which was said, no one knows exactly, but what happened was that the girl nodded enthusiastically, and smiled. "Yes, yes," she said. In a puff of smoke, the creature disappeared, and Ah-soo was transformed into a trout. Ah-soo and the great trout floated down the creek into the river, and finally into Santuit Pond. The lovers expected that they would swim happily in the calm waters for many years. This was not to be, for the labors of the great trout had so drained him, he soon died from exhaustion. His true love, Ah-soo, died right after, from a broken heart. The Native Americans of Mashpee took Ah-soo and the great trout from the lake and brought them to a spacious wigwam, in hopes they could find the creature who had changed Ah-soo into a fish. They were certain that the creature, who was known to be a pukwudgie, could bring the lovers back to life. Pukwudgies are unpredictable and elusive, and he was not to be found. So reluctantly, the people buried the golden throat and her hero side by side in a large mound. That mound exists today. It is called Trout Cave, and is near the river dug by the great trout. The pukwudgie, or his ancestor, is still around today and makes occasional appearances between Cape Cod and an area in southeastern Massachusetts called the Bridgewater Triangle. Ah-soo and the great trout swim in spirit together, in the waters of Mashpee, and sometimes it is said that if you go on the old ghost road by the Rotary, near Mashpee Commons, you might hear beautiful singing, warbling so magnificent as to make the whole forest stop to listen.
For us to be together, we've come a long way. This is love. This is love.
And so closes The Talented and Ugly Ah-soo. The tale is from Bill Russo's book, The Ghosts of Cape Cod, available on Audible and iTunes, with award-winning tale telling by Scott R. Pollock of National Public Radio. The book is also available in paperback as well as an e-book on Amazon and all major retail outlets. Tune in again to the Little Theatre for more dramatized chapters from The Ghosts of Cape Cod. Until we meet again, thanks for listening, and as our friend Basil says, please come back again real soon. Won't you?